Thank you very much. The Platform on Disaster Displacement, PDD, is a state-led multi-stakeholder initiative to enhance the protection of persons displaced in the context of disasters and adverse effects of climate change, and also working on prevention, reducing such displacement. In the next 5 minutes, I would like to answer 7 questions. First, are there people seeking protection abroad in the context of disasters and climate change? The answer is yes. On average, 25 million people every year are newly displaced in disaster contexts. Most remain within their own countries, but some cross borders. And this is why PDD has partnered with UNHCR to prepare this policy brief, a policy brief on the protection of persons in such situations. Second question, is this a relevant topic for the Global Refugee Forum? Everyone talks here about refugees fleeing persecution, armed conflict. The answer is yes, because the Global Compact on Refugees in paragraph 63 clearly calls for guidance and support for measures to address protection and humanitarian challenges, including measures to assist those forcibly displaced by natural disasters. Third question, what are the tools to protect such persons? There are at least 5 categories of tools. In practice, the most important one, the most relevant one, are humanitarian visa, temporary protection measures. These are measures based on humanitarian considerations, but also measures enshrined in migration law, regional bilateral agreements, immigration quota schemes are important. And then there's refugee law. Yes, fourth question. But are there climate refugees under the 1951 Convention? No. Because climate, natural hazards, cannot persecute people for reasons of race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group, or political opinion. However, persecution can take place in disaster situations too. Courts have identified several such situations. For instance, a New Zealand court granted refugee status to a woman activist. She feared arrest and torture in her country of origin because her organization had distributed humanitarian aid to the survivors of a devastating storm. And because she belonged to the opposition, the government said, no, you can't do that, that's political. Or denial of humanitarian assistance. A UK court recognized that blocking access to food aid to members of a minority or an opposition group amounts to persecution. Or unwillingness to protect from harm. The refusal of authorities to protect women in collective shelters from gender-based violence, etc. This may amount to persecution too, provided there are the persecutory reasons. And finally, internal flight alternative. Courts, for instance, in Norway found that areas in the country of origin of refugees affected by disasters may not court found that areas in the country of origin of refugees affected by disasters may not provide an acceptable internal flight alternative, and therefore such a refugee cannot be sent back to the country of origin. The use of refugee law in disaster contexts will always remain limited. But let's harness the potential of refugee law where it is applicable. Next question. Is there a particularly interesting example of humanitarian admission based on humanitarian considerations? Yes. I think Argentina's special environmental humanitarian visa program, allowing for the resettlement and integration of disaster displaced persons from Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean is very interesting because it introduces the concept of burden sharing through resettlement into the field of disaster displacement. Very innovative. Sixth question. And what about migration pathways, such as agreements on the free movement of persons? Such agreements, they serve economic purposes. It's about labor migration. But they have a huge potential to allow people to move out of harm's way in anticipation of, during, or in the aftermath of disasters. Look at this text. It's Article 16 of the new IGAD Protocol on Free Movement of Persons. That's the Horn of Africa. And it explicitly opens up this instrument for disaster-affected people. And now the last question. Do you want to know more? If yes, go to this QR code, download the brief, or pick it up from my colleague Timo here. Thank you very much.